The listing had been up for 6 minutes when Daniel applied. That alone should have been a red flag. Not the speed. Daniel was the kind of person who set alerts for everything: apartments, job postings, even grocery discounts. Efficiency wasn't just a habit, it was how he kept his life from slipping. After the breakup, after the move, after realizing that most of his friends had quietly chosen sides that weren't his, he needed something stable. This place looked stable. Top floor unit, old building, but renovated, hardwood floors, big windows, quiet neighborhood, rent just low enough to feel like luck. The landlord responded in under an hour. Still available. Can show today. Daniel left work early. The building sat on a street that felt like it had been forgotten halfway through being gentrified. A coffee shop on one corner, boarded up storefront on the other. The kind of place where you could convince yourself it was up and coming if you said it enough. The landlord, Mr. Hale, was already waiting outside. Mid-50s, maybe. Clean shirt, too clean, the kind of clean that looked practiced. His smile was polite but not warm. "You're Daniel," he said. "Yeah." They shook hands. Mr. Hale's grip was firm, but his hand was cold. "Let's take a look," he said. The apartment was exactly like the photos. That was the second red flag. Most places looked worse in person: smaller, dimmer, worn in ways photos didn't show. But this one felt untouched, not new, just preserved. The floors didn't creak. The walls were clean, but not freshly painted. There was no smell, not even that faint mix of dust and cleaning product most empty apartments had. It felt like no one had lived there, or like someone had lived there very carefully. "This was recently renovated?" Daniel asked. "Some time ago," Mr. Hale said. Daniel walked through the space slowly. Kitchen, living room, bedroom, bathroom. Everything made sense. Everything was normal. Except 2 locks, Daniel said, pointing at the front door. A standard deadbolt. And below it, a second lock. Heavier, older, almost industrial. Mr. Hale followed his gaze. "Extra security. Previous tenant requested it." "Nice," Daniel said. Mr. Hale nodded, but didn't elaborate. Daniel signed the lease that night. That was the third red flag. Not because it was rushed. He'd been looking for weeks, and this place checked every box, but because Mr. Hale didn't hesitate. "No, I'll review your application. No, I have a few other people interested. Just, looks good. When can you move in?" "Tomorrow," Daniel had said, surprising even himself. Mr. Hale smiled that same careful smile. "Tomorrow works." The first night was quiet. Too quiet. Daniel noticed it right away, but told himself it was just the adjustment. He'd been living with roommates for years. There was always noise. Someone in the kitchen, someone on the phone, someone existing just beyond your awareness. Here, there was nothing. No footsteps overhead. No TV through the walls. No pipes rattling. Just silence. It wasn't peaceful. It was sealed. Daniel lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, phone in hand. He scrolled aimlessly until his eyes blurred. At 1:13 a.m., he heard something. A soft, metallic click. He sat up. Listened. Nothing. He waited. 30 seconds. A minute. Nothing else. He exhaled, lay back down, and told himself it was the building settling. The second night, it happened again. 1:13 a.m. Click. This time, Daniel didn't move right away. He lay still, eyes open, heart beating a little faster. The sound had come from the front door. He was sure of it. He got up slowly, stepping carefully on the hardwood. The living room was dark, lit only by the faint glow of streetlight through the blinds. The front door stood closed, both locks in place. He walked closer. Checked them. Deadbolt, lock. Second lock, lock. He leaned his ear toward the door. Nothing. No footsteps in the hallway. No voices. No movement. He stood there for a long time, listening to nothing. By the fourth night, Daniel was waiting for it. 1:12. He stood in the living room, lights off, eyes on the door. 1:13. Click. It was unmistakable now. The sound of metal shifting inside the lock. But the lock didn't turn. It just clicked, like someone on the other side had tried a key and stopped. Daniel stepped forward immediately this time, adrenaline overriding hesitation. He grabbed the doorknob, pulled it open. The hallway outside was empty. Long, dim, the overhead light flickering faintly at the far end. No one there. No footsteps echoing away. Just silence. Daniel stepped out into the hallway. Looked left. Looked right. Nothing. He stood there, barefoot on the cold floor, feeling suddenly exposed. Then, a door at the far end of the hall closed. Softly. Not slammed, just shut. Daniel's stomach dropped. He hadn't heard it open. The next day, he texted Mr. Hale. Hey, quick question, does anyone else have a key to my unit? The reply came quickly. No, just you. Daniel stared at the message. Not even maintenance. No maintenance enters without notice. That should have been reassuring. It wasn't. He started checking things. Small things. Things he wouldn't have thought about before. The position of his shoes by the door. The angle of the blinds. The exact placement of his coffee mug on the counter. At first, nothing seemed off. Then, on day 6, he noticed it. The bathroom mirror. Daniel always left it slightly open after using the medicine cabinet. Just a habit. Not fully closed, just a small gap. That morning, it was shut completely. He stood there, staring at his reflection. Maybe he closed it. Maybe, but he didn't think so. That night, he set up his phone, propped it on the kitchen counter, angled toward the front door. Video recording. If someone was trying the lock, he'd catch it. He went to bed fully dressed. At 1:13 a.m. Click. He was out of bed instantly. Ran to the living room. The door was still closed. The locks looked the same. He grabbed his phone. Stopped the recording. Hands shaking slightly, he played it back. The video showed the empty room. The front door. Stillness. At 1:13 a.m., the audio picked up the click. Clear. Loud. And then, the doorknob moved. Not all the way. Just a slight turn. Enough that the latch inside shifted. Daniel's breath caught. He hadn't seen that from the bedroom. The door hadn't opened. But something had tried. From the inside. He didn't sleep after that. At 7 a.m., he was at the landlord's office. Mr. Hale didn't seem surprised to see him. Something wrong? He asked. Daniel held up his phone. Someone's trying to get into my apartment every night. Mr. Hale watched the video. Expression neutral. When it ended, he handed the phone back. That's unusual, he said. Yeah, Daniel said, voice tight. It is. Mr. Hale nodded slowly. I can change the locks. Both of them, Daniel said immediately. A pause. Of course, Mr. Hale said. The locksmith came that afternoon. A quiet guy in his 30s, tool belt worn and familiar. He replaced the deadbolt first, standard procedure, fast. Then he moved to the second lock. He frowned. This one's older, he said. Yeah, Daniel said. Previous tenant had it installed, apparently. The locksmith didn't respond right away. He crouched closer, examining it. Where'd you say this place was renovated? He asked. I don't know, Daniel said. A while ago. The locksmith let out a small, humorless breath. This lock isn't from a renovation, he said. Daniel's stomach tightened. What do you mean? The locksmith straightened, wiping his hands on a rag. This kind of lock, he said, tapping it lightly. It's not for keeping people out. Daniel blinked. What? The locksmith met his eyes. It's for keeping something in. Daniel didn't stay that night. He packed a bag and crashed at a friend's place across town. Told himself he was overreacting. Told himself the locksmith was just being dramatic. Told himself the video didn't prove anything. But he couldn't shake the feeling. The apartment wasn't being entered. Something inside it was trying to leave. The next morning, he went back. Daylight made everything feel smaller, less threatening. The apartment looked normal again. Quiet. Still. Daniel stood in the living room, staring at the door. He told himself he'd imagined it. That stress did weird things. That he'd laugh about this later. He walked to the door. Touched the new lock. Then the second one. Replaced, shiny, different, safer. He exhaled. Turned away. That's when he noticed the wall. In the corner of the living room. Near the baseboard. A thin line. Like a seam. Daniel frowned. He hadn't noticed it before. He crouched. Ran his fingers along it. The wall wasn't solid. It was a panel. His pulse quickened. Slowly, he pressed. The panel shifted inward. Just enough. Revealing darkness behind it. And a smell. Faint. Stale. Like old air that hadn't moved in years. Daniel hesitated. Then pushed harder. The panel opened. Behind it was a narrow space. Not a room. A crawl space. Just big enough for a person to move through. And inside, a mattress. A thin blanket. Empty water bottles. And on the wall, scratched into the paint in uneven lines. 113. Over and over. Dozens of times. Hundreds. Daniel's breath came fast. This was real. This was a sound. Behind him. Soft. Metal. Click. He spun around. The front door. The new lock. The second lock. Both turned. At the same time. From the inside. The door opened. Slowly. And in the reflection of the darkened window beside it, Daniel saw something standing just behind him. Too close. Watching. Smiling. The police report said there were no signs of forced entry. No evidence of another person. No fingerprints except Daniel's. They documented the crawl space. The mattress. The writing on the wall. They asked Daniel if he'd been under stress. If he'd been sleeping. If he'd ever experienced anything like this before. He said no. He told them about the clicking. The video. The locksmith. Mr. Hale. They wrote it all down. Nodded. Thanked him. Closed the case. 3 weeks later, the apartment was listed again. Recently renovated. Quiet building. Extra security. A new tenant applied within minutes. Mr. Hale approved them immediately. When the locksmith returned to reinstall the second lock, he paused. Didn't I just replace this? He asked. Mr. Hale smiled. Tenants come and go, he said. The locksmith frowned. What about the crawl space? Mr. Hale tilted his head. What crawl space? The locksmith hesitated, then shook his head. Nothing, he said. He installed the lock. Heavy. Secure. Facing inward. That night, at 1:13 a.m., in the empty apartment, the lock clicked, and from somewhere inside the walls, something tried again. Patient. Practiced. Waiting for the next tenant to come home.